Welcome back to Politics Unusual. I'm Robert Moses in New York. Election day is over, but New Jersey has plenty more elections coming up in the very near future. Here with us to talk about the latest political goings-on in the Garden State is Seton Hall University political science professor Matthew Hale. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's start with the mayoral election in Jersey City. Since no candidate got more than 50% of the vote earlier this month, former Governor Jim McGreevey, who got 25% of the vote, and City Councilman James Solomon, who got 29%, are headed to a runoff on December 2nd. In your mind, who has the edge?
You know, it's interesting. I think if you ask people in Jersey City, they might want to become the sixth borough of New York City. And their mayoral race is a lot like the mayor's race in New York City. You have a young, progressive candidate in James Solomon versus a more traditional centrist candidate in Jim McGreevey. By all accounts right now, it looks like Solomon is going to take this one. He's consolidated support with the candidates who didn't make it to the runoff, so he seems to be headed towards a pretty good victory.
What about turnout, Professor? I mean, a lot of people aren't really thinking about elections in December. How will turnout play into all this?
Well, we'd certainly expect turnout to be a lot less. It's the only thing on the ballot. That being said, both campaigns are out knocking on doors and making phone calls and doing whatever they can. So we're going to have turnout be a lot less. But I still think there's going to be folks wanting to vote.
Does McGreevey's name recognition help or hurt him more here?
Interesting question. He certainly has a lot more name recognition than Solomon does, but it's not all good. He had to resign from the governorship several years back. He's done an amazing job at sort of rehabilitating himself through his work with nonprofits and prisoner reentry and all of those types of things. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Let's pivot, if you don't mind, to another special election to come. This one to fill Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill's seat in the 11th District. First, there'll be a primary in February. The governor just announced that. And then a special election in April. Do you see that seat remaining Democratic? And who are the big contenders?
Absolutely. I think it's pretty sure that it's going to stay a Democratic seat. You know, at some point I was thinking there might be more people running than people voting. It is certainly a crowded field. The top two contenders, I think, are Brendan Gill, who's been a county commissioner. He ran Phil Murphy's campaign. He's got a longtime ties to Essex, and he's got a lot of ability to raise money. Tom Malinowski is another candidate. He was actually a congressman in the 7th District. He currently works in the district, but he's certainly a formidable candidate. So I'd put those two at the top. And
out of those two, who has the edge?
I think it's Gill. I think you know, Malinowski is going to get hit by accusations of being a carpetbagger, of having moved to run for the seat, and that might be enough for Gill to win. But remember, there's 10 plus candidates, and so the number of votes that it's going to take to win is small, and that probably helps someone who's established like Gill.
Let's shift our attention to the 12th District, where 80-year-old Bonnie Watson-Coleman recently announced that she will not seek re-election next year. She won easily last time around. What are you watching in that district?
So again, one of the things that's happening in New Jersey is we got rid of the county line, which identified and endorsed candidates in the primary. And that means that used to determine who was going to run. Right now, everybody is running. And so, again, you have a deep field in the 12th. Mayor Brad Cohn is the mayor of East Brunswick. He seems like a pretty strong candidate, but this is a big and a diverse district spreading across several different counties, going down into Trenton, up into Somerset. So a lot of things in play there.
And just in our last few seconds, what's the biggest political story you're looking forward to in the new year in New Jersey?
Well, the first one is how does Mikey Sherrill do going out of the gate? What are her first priorities, where she's going to focus, who she's going to choose for important positions?
Professor Matthew Hale, thank you so much for taking a few minutes with us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, still to come. We come back across the Hudson to preview other intriguing races here in New York in the new year, including who is making a bid for House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries' seat when we come back. Welcome back. We just told you about some of the New Jersey races that we are already anticipating in 2026. Let's look at some of the other races elsewhere. City Councilman Chi Osei of Brooklyn has filed paperwork to run in New York's 8th congressional district. The close ally of Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani and a fellow Democratic socialist is challenging House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the highest-ranking Democrat in that chamber. Mamdani discouraged him from challenging Jeffries, but to no avail. When asked about Osei's plans, Jeffries said, "Come on in, the water's warm." Meantime, another race taking shape is the battle for New York City Council Speaker. 5 candidates have thrown their hats in the ring. Council members Crystal Hudson, Julie Menon, Salvina Brooks-Powers, Amanda Farias, and Chris Marte are all looking to usher in a new era at City Hall. Menon, who represents the Upper East Side, appears to be the early frontrunner. The winner will succeed current Speaker Adrian Adams, whose term limited, and will work closely with the incoming mayor. The 51-member council votes on a new speaker in January. Now it's time to take the pulse of the people, and we're heading back to New Jersey to hear what people are saying about the recently announced PATH train fare increases. The Port Authority announced that the cost of a single PATH train ticket is set to increase in the spring and will climb steadily each year until it hits $4 by 2029. Now, the news wasn't all bad. The Port Authority also plans to reintroduce 7-day-a-week service across all PATH lines for the first time in 25 years and more direct service on weekends. Here's what some New Jerseyans told us.
It's hard. Some people, it's hard for them to make ends meet as it is, and raising the PATH fare would just make it even harder for them.
I mean, if the fare hikes result in improvements with, staying on time, improvements that are visible on, in and around the track locations, I am okay with it. But, with the increased fare, you kind of want to see your money going somewhere.
In terms of the service, it has not improved. If anything, it's gotten worse. So for them to actually increase the pricing and the hikes, price hikes, I think it's absurd, honestly.
Next up, we are testing your knowledge of the tri-state region, so stay with us as we take a look at some political history. Now to a political flashback. We're looking back on some significant days in history. On November 30th, 1924, the first transatlantic radio photo facsimile was transmitted. A photograph of President Calvin Coolidge was sent from New York to London via the Radio Corporation of America. Finally, tonight, we're testing your knowledge of some local history. Last week, we asked you, the Lincoln Highway was the first transcontinental highway in the United States built in 1913. It ran from Times Square to what city across the country? The answer? San Francisco. This first transcontinental highway stretched more than 3,300 miles, ending with its western terminus at Lincoln Park in San Francisco. The Lincoln Highway still exists as a network of drivable road sections, but is no longer a single continuous highway. Now we turn to this week's question. Which former New York City mayor was the subject of a Pulitzer Prize-winning musical? Now, don't Google the answer, but if you know it or want to take a shot at it, go ahead and scan the code on your screen. That is going to take you to our website, fox5ny.com, where you can type in your answer, then check back right here to see if you are right. And that does it for this episode of Politics Unusual. Thank you so much for joining us. For my colleague Morgan Mackay in Washington, I'm Robert Moses in New York. Have a great night.